All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Centrella show. I'm excited to be back on. I know it's been a little bit of a hiatus, but you know how I do. I wait until I have some really incredible interviews that I am excited to share with you and some just incredible conversations. And that is what today is going to be. I am so excited to introduce all of you. If you don't know who Arus is, she's my guest today on the show. You are definitely going to go want to follow her. If you follow me at all on Instagram, you probably saw last weekend I was at her incredible women's empowerment event. And so you may be following her already since then. If not, go follow her. I'll put the links here in the show notes. But we're going to jump in. We have a great conversation to get into today. And welcome to the show, Ruth. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. It's always pleasure chatting with you on camera, off camera. Having you on my event was a blast. Honestly, people still reaching out to me, saying how incredible was your speech and how insightful. I mean, a lot of them write in Russian, so you can't
Yeah.
understand, but I'm going to translate it to you.
I loved it. I mean, they were so for everyone listening, Arus had this just beautiful, really beautiful women's empowerment event in Los Angeles. And you had a great lineup of speakers. And what I love so much about being in rooms like this, and I told you, I was like, if I'm coming down, I'm going to be there for the day. Like, I am not one of those speakers, typically, if my schedule will allow it, that just hops in and hops out. I'm like, I want to be in the room. I want to learn from the other speakers. I want to have those conversations. And so I just got to meet so many incredible people, and of course, got to listen to your talk. So on this show, we typically start off with a little bit of a backstory, because Hustle, Believe, Receive is all about like, it took us a long time to get where we're at, right? And I think a lot of people forget that, and we do the compare game, and we get really frustrated with ourselves because we're not where we need to be. But once we hear someone's backstory, we're like, oh, okay, maybe it took you a minute, or maybe you went through some things before you got here. So can we start there? Can you just tell us a little bit about how you got to this place in your life, and what were some of the big pivotal moments that brought you to where you are today, that kind of enabled you to be able to empower women?
Of course, yeah, it was quite a path, and I think it's still a way to go. But I'm a child of an immigrant. I'm immigrants. So we moved first from Armenia during the war. It was 1994 to Russia. So I'm three times immigrant. So that was quite a.
Wow.
So we ran from the war when I was 4 years old without anything. So I know what does it mean to build from nothing. And yeah, my parents taught me how to hustle, that all you have to do is just put work into it. And that's all I knew all my life. And when people ask me what's the best formula for success, I'm always saying that hustle and be a bit of delusional. You have to be a delusional to be able to
Yes.
hustle that much. But
You have to be the only one sometimes believing in your dream, and everyone thinks you're crazy.
exactly, exactly. And honestly, I find that it's the best feeling
Right.
when someone tells me like, it's impossible. It's
Right.
impossible to move to England when I moved there. It's impossible to move to the US. You're by yourself. But or like it's impossible. I'll tell you one story when I got my biggest impossible, and that was my, let's say, pivot moment in my life. So yeah, I started from literally nothing. We had times when we didn't have even food on our tables. But again, just my parents and the knowledge that everything is possible if you put work into it. That was the main thing. And when I was younger, I moved to the capital of Russia, Moscow, and entered the university. And that's when I started hustling. And I remember I had a full-time job. I went to university. In the morning, I was going to the university, then working, university, working. I had no time for myself. I had no time for, I don't parties. So I didn't have that kind of university time. I had the like very strict schedule. And my story, my main story, because I'm, let's say, advocate of non-victim mentality.
Yeah.
And my story started when, again, if you work and study that much, you get in the right place, right? I was working on TV since I was 17 because I literally broke the wall. Like there was
Wow.
no magic, no magic. I was just going and saying, you need me. You need me. You have to hire me. You have to hire me.
Relentless
I've
pursuit. I
heard
love it.
thousands of no's. No was my whatever. I'm moving forward. I'm moving forward. That delusional factor is very important. And yeah, when I finished my university, I already was the desirable candidates for other TV channels to hire me. And one of the TV channels hired me, and they gave me promotion in 2 months. I became, at 22 years old, I became the program director and general producer of a comedy channel.
Wow.
And yes, it's not a magic, but that's what I want to say. There
Hard
was no
work. Hard work. Yes.
no luck, no luck. It were a lot of sleepless nights. But anyways, I got there, was very proud of myself, and they gave me the task to fail, because that was the task, to fail. Just imagine a TV channel with zero budget. The only budget they had is for my salary. That's my salary, and I asked for assistant because you can't actually do anything without an assistant when you run any company. It's impossible. Anyways, that's all they had, that budget. I was like, okay, what is TV channel? It's a content. When you don't have any money for the content, you don't have a channel.
Great. Yeah.
And because I was young, that was actually the main factor. That's why when people say like Gen Z is like useless or whatever, now everyone says that on Instagram, I always say, just think how you can use their knowledge. The same was there. I was 22 years old, and I used my knowledge of my youth, let's say, to figure out that there is a YouTube. It wasn't popular back then. It was 12 years ago. And I started reaching out to all YouTube channels. They had a content. It was very good content.
Ah,
Yes, they had a lot of swearing words that I
right.
was
Editing.
keeping all the time. That was my job for a couple of months. But anyways, just beeping those swearing words. But I reached out to all those channels that were doing a comedy content, and I asked them, I can give you the advertisement on my channel. It's expensive, but in return, give me your content. I'll cut all swearing words, everything that's inappropriate or like child non-friendly, but let's do that deal.
Wow.
None of them told me no. I got yes everywhere because it was a
Yeah.
good deal. I
Yeah.
was giving them more in return, because I told them, you can put your advertisement, you can sell those spots, you can sell them for whatever you want to. Just give me the content. Yeah, yes, and that's how I filled out the our TV channel. Let's say that's how I found 60%, 60-70% of the shows, because you have those 24 hours. You have to fill them out with something. And then I start looking for enthusiasts in comedy. It's a lot of people that are doing great comedy. We're doing it now, and they want that publicity, let's say. They want to be on media. And I reached out to them and asked, do you want to be on TV? But I don't have a budget, but you can do whatever you want to do. I mean, we're going to edit it, obviously, no swearing, no like hate speech, blah, blah, blah. And they said yes.
Yeah, they're
So
excited to be on TV.
of course,
Yeah, yeah.
in a year, it took us a year to take those channel with zero budget that was in the bottom of ratings to the top. We overtook even Paramount Comedy, the
Wow.
multi-million.
Yeah, that's insane. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. In our region, it was
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Russia, and one little thing. When I've started all that, the management of the channel told me, if you will take the channel to the top, we'll give you a budget. That was our deal. That's what our deal was. And so just imagine how happy I am. I got the ratings. We're
Yeah,
#1. We're celebrating. I'm reaching out to the management. I'm like, we did it. We're
yeah.
#1. They're like, okay, we don't believe you. We send us more. We send everything, all data. And they were like, it took a couple of weeks, and then they were like, we don't have a budget for you.
Oh,
So
you're like, okay, wow, am I really starting from scratch again after putting all of this work in? And wow.
yeah, by that time I was already 23, still a kid if you think about
Yeah.
it. No, didn't have a developed sense of self-respect. That's, by the way, so important for young women. Gosh, if I will have a girl one day, I don't have kids, but one day I will. And if I will have a daughter, I will teach her self-respect and self-love. It will be the first thing
Yes.
I'll teach her, because what I've done when I got that we don't have a budget, I just got into victim mentality. I didn't value myself, my time, my effort, my superhero abilities, nothing. Yeah, I thought that I got lucky. Today, I don't believe in luck. I
Right.
think luck is impossible. It's just doesn't exist.
A wasted time, first of all, if you believe in it, because you're just sitting around doing nothing, waiting for it to strike. Like, good luck.
Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, and I stayed there. That was the biggest mistake I've done. I stayed there. It's like being in a relationship when you're being beaten up day by day and you staying there. I did the same thing. The same thing. I was beaten up again and again by the management, but I stayed there in that unhealthy relationship, and that triangle. I stayed as a victim. So yeah, I've been there for a while, and like for 6 months minimum. And then one day, just imagine those 6 months, I was sick. I was blaming everyone. I was in such a victim mentality. I was so unhappy. I can't imagine how unhappy I was. And one day I got the invitation from one travel company. They wanted us to shoot something in Greece. In return, they will take us there.
Yeah.
Anyways, we traveled to Greece with my cameraman. One day we went to the bar, and I'm not quite drinker, so I'm getting so bored in the bars. Today I'm having problems with my husband because he loves bars. I don't. But anyways, and my cameraman stayed in the bar, and I was like, okay, I'm going. So I took a taxi, and taxi, instead of taking me to the hotel, took me to the forest. And that's when I became a physical victim. I was raped, I was robbed, and I was left absolutely, um, how to say that, disoriented
God,
in
yeah.
a place that I had no idea where I am. On
Oh,
top of that, that was the first time in my life when I saw that many homeless people. We don't have that much homeless people in Russia, even in the capital. And I remember the first day in Athens, I'm like, oh my God, so many homeless people. And it became, my little fear. When we say one
yeah,
homophobia, that was
yeah,
mine.
yeah.
Um, and I remember waking up in the forest, because memory, like our mind is a miracle thing, because it is blocking everything we don't need at that time. So I
Exactly.
didn't need all those details. So I
Right.
go into um not into victim. I was already a victim, but I would go, it would distract me from the goal I had to reach. And my main goal was to get out from that forest, to find that hotel. I didn't remember the name of the hotel. I didn't remember. I only remembered that day we took a bus to get to the hotel. I remembered the number of that bus. That's it. All I knew.
Wow. And
And
that's just every woman's absolute most terrifying nightmare. Like the everything about that is the most terrifying nightmare. Oh my God.
100%. And unfortunately, women, when they face with rape or become a victim of rape or anything like that, unfortunately, everyone is being silent. And that is a mistake as well, because we even don't know the real data and real percentage of rape victims, because
Right.
mostly women don't
Fear.
go to police. And now I will tell you why. Because the first thing I had on my mind is to go to the police find a way out of that forest. By the way, it took me 3 hours from the moment I woke up there and got to
Oh
the
God. I
hotel,
can't
and that was
imagine.
transformational for me. And what the first thing you do, you go to the police. That was my goal. On the way to that police station, where I didn't know where was it, in the forest. For the first time, I found that another taxi in that forest, and I came to him. I was explaining what happened to me the second he heard that I don't have money because I was robbed. He's like, "Get out."
Oh God,
I
I
was
cannot
like, "All
even
right."
imagine. You're like, just take me to the police station.
Yeah, but I asked him, at
God.
least I asked him, I took
Yeah.
information from him. I'm like, okay, where is the police station? Just tell me. I went to the first police station. They said the first one, they didn't speak English. My English wasn't great either. I was like, all right. And they like, go to another one. I went to another one. They told me we're taking only emergency cases. So my case wasn't emergency for them.
You're like,
So
I'm literally just came from the forest. How is this not an emergency? Oh my God.
yeah, I was explaining them everything that happened to me. They're like, we take only emergency case. I'm like,
Oh
if
my God.
this is not emergency, like just women got into the like the worst nightmare of her life. It, it's not an emergency, but
Right.
okay, I took it. I was like, okay, I have a goal. I was in my zone. I was like, all right, no emotions. Emotions right now are damaging. And I was like, okay, where's the next police station? They're like, you have to walk like 30, 40 minutes. I was like, oh, all right, I'm gonna walk. Just tell me the direction. I walked. And the time when I got there, an officer just took a shift. So he was kind of irritated that the second he get there, the victim gets there. So he took the statement and then he was like, get out. Like,
Oh
we
my
done? Like, we done?
God.
You can go.
That's
Um, and that's when I understood that actually the victims of rape or crime like that, when you're purely a victim, uh, are blamed that
yeah,
like that they did
absolutely.
something.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And you're
I
just
was
like,
like,
in what world?
in what world? Like, yeah,
No one
but
trying to help. There's no, yeah.
I literally got into taxi. And even now, when I tell that story to men, the first thing they say, was that licensed taxi? Was that blah, 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 blah? Was
It's so
there?
true. It's so true. They try to find a reason why. Well,
Yeah.
there must have been a reason. You must have done something. What were you wearing? Oh my God. And not only to be victimized in the horrific way that you were, but every single one of those police stations and the taxi driver who wouldn't pick you up, every one of those victimized you too.
Yeah, exactly. Those no's
Yeah.
were another world. But again, don't forget, I was victim before that, before I went to Athens. I was already in a victim mindset because I was hurt and I was still staying in that triangle, blaming others, putting myself in the worst position, my body in the worst position. I was sick for months and I was still going to the work. Anyways, and after that policeman, and I understood that I have to fight. Right now, I can't just say,
Yeah.
all right, you took a
Yeah.
statement, I'll go. No, I
Advocate.
didn't even
You
have
have to
money.
advocate for yourself. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm like, I don't have money. I can't go anywhere. Can you please take me to the hotel? I was very nice. And they're like, we're not a taxi service, so we're not taking you anywhere. I was like, all right, let's figure it out. What else can we do? And he just taking €2. Back then, I don't know what it's now, but back then, €2 in Athens gave you 90 minutes in a public transportation. So I had 90 minutes. And I just took that €2. I'm like, all right, bye. And I just ran because I had only 90 minutes. And I was doubting that that path will take me 90 minutes because it was, but it was, yeah, it was 90 minutes, hopefully. So I ran to the metro. After metro, I took that bus. The second I got to that bus, I was in a safe place because that was something I knew already. The only
Right.
thing
Yeah.
during that night, that bus And that's when I started realizing what I did wrong. No, I didn't dress the wrong way. It wasn't because I took the wrong taxi. No, the only problem I had, it was not behavioral problem. It was the victim mentality I put myself before that. It was purely mindset problem. It was purely self-esteem. It was about my self-worth, self-respect. And I was victim before I got to that forest. I
Right.
was in a victim mentality. I don't know how universe works. We don't know. We only assume, right? So even what I'm gonna say now is gonna be a theory of my experience, theory that I've made out of my experience. Now, but I think universe gives us all those experiences for a reason. I needed that. I needed that giant slap from the universe, just waking me up and saying, hey, wake up, you're a victim. You're gonna stuck in that mindset, you're gonna stuck on that TV channel, you won't do anything. And we know a lot of stories of people that
Yeah,
could be successful, but because they got into victim mindset, they did something
they suck.
great and someone heard them and they just sat and never did anything. I could
Yep.
be one of those people. But because of that story, because universe slapped me, there is no other explanation. I woke up. I woke up and I understood that I'm not letting anyone, myself as well, to make myself a victim. I asked myself one question in that bus. Uh, do you want to be happy? The answer was yes. I'm like, okay, in that case, you have two choices and you're going to make them right now. Choice number one, you are staying a victim after this experience and you are living your life as a victim. Victim is not getting anything. Victim is not getting success. Victim is not getting loving relationships, because relationships for a victim is a torture, right? Victims
So
don't.
true. So true. Victim is not getting, listen to that, you guys. And if you've ever been in a victim mentality, maybe if you're in one right now and you don't even recognize it, it is so true. How many victims do you know that are at the top? I can't name one.
Yeah, everyone at some point of their lives were victims. The thing is to be cautious about that, to realize I am a victim. But anyways, the second choice was, so the first one, you're staying in the victim mentality and you're living like that. You don't have a real life. You just have a bunch of envy, jealousy to others because you're not living your life. Choice number two, that's when you want to be happy. You're taking that experience, you're analyzing it, you are understanding why you got that experience. Not, now, the question is not why did I get it with the tears on your eyes, but what for? You know, what that
What am I
experience
supposed to be
came,
learning? Yeah.
yeah, learning, what that experience came to give me. What shall I receive from that experience? And I decided to take number two, right? Because it was the most logical for the happiness. So I decided to understand, analyze, to take the best from that experience, even though it sounds like a nightmare. It was a nightmare, but it all about what you're taking out of that, because it happened. I can't change the past. I
Yeah.
can't go back, but I can go forward by taking that experience and making a treasure out of it. That's what I did. That's how I received my first psychology degree in psychology after that story, because before I had a degree in TV journalism. Then when I got to the back to Moscow, I quit from the job that was torturing me, because I let them to torture me. We're giving that permission. But after that bus, when I got to the hotel, when I only got that realization, just think about it. There was nothing, literally nothing physical happened, only realization, only a thought. And after that thought, everything changed. People just started being so kind to me. When
Wow.
I decided not to be a
Right.
victim,
Right.
even concierge just helped me big time. Some people from that media delegation, they were giving me money randomly when they heard that I was raped and robbed, because they couldn't do anything with the first part. So
Right.
they were like, you still have to be here. This is, and I don't think that back then I had a card. That's why,
Yeah.
yeah. And even Russian embassy in Athens opened their doors on Saturday to make me a temporary documentation. They don't do it at all. Never, never. No, I was taken to the hospital. I got a lot of kindness there. So from that moment, the moment of that realization changed everything after that. Men, women, didn't matter. Everyone were very kind to me because I started being kind to myself. I made that decision. And of course, yes, after that, I changed everything. I quit. I started my projects. I got even more successful projects after that, and financially successful as well, because at that point I understood that financial success is
Yeah.
important for me because I didn't value that before. And yes, only one realization. But after, of course, I worked a lot. And as I said, I got a psychology degree. I did a lot of research myself, and I created my own method of working with victim mentality.
Yeah.
It's very easy 4 steps that we actually can implement, but it's a work. That's what I want
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
not a
love,
magic. Yeah.
I mean, thank you so much for sharing your story. First and foremost, I cannot even fathom. I know every woman listening here has had that as their biggest probably nightmare and fear. And just to have lived through it, but not only to have lived through it, but then to really be aware and present enough to be internalizing and saying, "Hey, what can I do? Like, how can I change my life? How can I just make sure I'm not ever, in a place where I'm not valuing myself the way that,
Mm.
you weren't at your other job? And what do I need to do to stand up for myself and to get myself out of that mindset so that I'm truly empowered, not not a victim, but empowered." And I just think it was so interesting, something that you said a minute ago, because I never heard it really put like that, about someone with a victim mentality. And probably all of us listening know someone, right? There's that one person who's always bitching and complaining, who is always saying that everything is happening to them and that everything, they're never taking responsibility. They're always looking at situations and being like, well, I didn't do that. And you're so right. You never hear of those people like becoming the huge successes. You never hear of those people. First of all, they're, I think, inherently very unhappy. And I can say all that because I definitely was in victim mentality before my rock bottom moment too. And didn't know it. I think maybe a lot of people don't know it either, right? Like I was pretty unaware of it. Um, but when my rock bottom happened, and that was the first time I realized, like, oh my God, I can't blame anything on anybody else from here on out. Like, whatever decisions I make, those are mine. I'm going to have to own them. And I found a lot of freedom in that, truly, because I was like, well, okay, like if I make a bad decision, that's on me, you know what I mean? And so that was kind of my turning point where I moved from victim. And I think there's still a lot of it ingrained in most people. There's moments where I'm like, oh my God, am I feeling sorry for myself? Am I back there again? What do I got to do and get out of it? So you talked about a method that you have. Can you share a little bit about that? About if someone is hearing this and is like, oh my God, I didn't realize maybe I'm kind of being that person lately. What are some things that they can do to get out of that?
Yeah, that's first of all, I do not know a single person that have never ever been in a victim mentality. As
That's
I say, they maybe live somewhere in the mountains, they meditate, but they're definitely not around us. It's pretty impossible. Once in a while, I find myself even now falling into that victim mentality, but because I
so
have
easy
those
to do, right? It's so easy to do. Yeah.
the
You're not
process.
aware.
And every time I find myself there, I just have those tools to take myself out of that mentality. And again, no one teaches us at school, at university. Our parents didn't really have time for that, even if they knew,
Right.
but they didn't know about that. There are simple steps. First of all, you have to recognize that you're a victim. That's the main thing. And there is a simple checklist. Don't forget that victim does not have energy for creation. Victim,
Y'all,
uh,
listen to that. If you're trying to be a creative, if you're trying to get out there and put something good into the world and you're still in victim mentality or victim mindset, it's time to get this checklist going.
yes, the first of all, and don't forget, women are all about creating. Women were, let's say, created to make creations, because we create life. We create some Eastern philosophy says that women create worlds and men build on them. And I absolutely agree with that,
Amen to that.
because if you do not have that energy for creation, and we're talking not about work, gosh, when you're in the kitchen, you also create, right? Yes, you can follow the blueprint that you cook again and again, but when you do something creative and you're proud of yourself, that's the energy of creation. So victim cannot have it, because victim is wasting. Let's say you have 100% of your energy every day. When you're a victim, 50% is gone in the beginning of the day.
So
So
true.
you are left with that 50% that you're probably also, as you're a victim, you're wasting in different other useless things.
Yeah.
Uh,
You can't think
and
about anything else, because when you're in victim mentality, you're only thinking about yourself and your own problems. You're not thinking about anything else. Yeah. It's
Exactly. Victims are the biggest, let's say, the most selfish people in the world, because victim has those zone where victim thinks only about his or her feelings, only about how I felt. Like Sarah said something, oh, how I felt, what did I say, how did it sound? It's only about me. At
right.
the
There's
end of the
no
day,
empathy. There's no any of that. Yeah.
it's very hard. It's very hard to be empathic. Then, of course, blaming. Blaming game is the victim's game, 100%. Always listen to your body. Body is actually probably one of the best advisor we have, because a body can tell you, are you in your best right now, or you're wasting that energy? And when you're a victim, when I was that victim for a long time, I was sick. I had a highest temperature. I always was struggling with something.
Yep.
Something in my body was not right. Right now, I don't remember when I was sick last time. But
Yeah. It's so
again,
true. It affects your immune system. It affects your gut, like just everything. That stress
that
and carrying all that. Yeah.
then assess all relationships in your life, major relationships, relationship with yourself. How do you talk to yourself? Um, do you play blame game, or are you gentle with yourself? Now, then with your family, assess that relationships. If you have a good relationship with your, I don't know anyone who has like perfect relationships with all members of the family, but if you see that there are people that you're trying to avoid in your family, or every time you think about them, you like getting angry or upset, that's also a sign. Assess that exact relationship, because it can be a blueprint for other relationships. But everything starts with ourselves, actually, but sometimes it's very hard to analyze. That's why we go to the family next. Then friends, society, community. Look there. If you hear a person that says that he's an idiot, and he's an idiot, they all are idiots, and I am
Yeah.
right, you can
Yeah.
tell that person in a victim mentality, and it's going to be very
Someone
hard.
who puts other people down all the time or is talking
Mm.
trash or yep.
Yeah,
So
and that's the sign of a weakness. It's not a sign of power, right? And don't forget that victim cannot really possess the true power. It's impossible. A victim can imagine that he has a power, but in fact, that's not the true power. True power in a confidence. It can be very silent confidence. Then, of course, assess the relationship at your work. If you work at the job, doesn't matter. Again, doesn't matter what you do. You can wipe floors. You can be the CEO of the biggest company. Doesn't matter what you do in this life until you know that you enjoy it. But if you have bad relationships in that um in that area of your life, and you hate your boss, you had your coworkers, you never ever made a real connection there, there is victim somewhere.
yep.
Just assess all areas of your life, of relationships in those areas.
I love that list. You guys go back, play that. That list is so important because if you're not sure, and all of us have had bad days, all of us have had bad weeks or whatever, but if it's prolonged and if that's really something that is starting to settle in your character, you can change it. That's the good news. What's one thing someone can do to change it once they realize like, hey man, I've kind of been a victim.
That's actually the first step, and it changes already everything. That was my aha moment in that bus. You have actually, the Harvard University had a research, and the research showed that there are two ways of going through transformation. One way is through pain, like I went, and the second one is through knowledge. So we actually always, and 100%, I also had the choice between those events. I just didn't take it. I just didn't take that choice because it was long, it was boring. I was 20 something, right? Oh, it's always boring. But right now, I'm like, all right, pain, no,
Right.
thank you. I'm gonna go through knowledge.
Having to get
But we always
educated.
have that choice. Yeah. So first thing is realizing that you're a victim. It's like with any addiction, right? You have to, if you're alcoholic, you have to say, I'm an alcoholic, and just realize that. The second step, you have to get out from the triangle. So it's a drama triangle. It's a triangle where we're all trapped when we're victims, right? There is a rescuer, a victim, and a villain, right? And we all change those parts in that triangle. So if you're a victim, that means you might be a rescuer also, and then a villain. And the second step is to get out from the triangle. Just leave the triangle. Don't give the power to that triangle anymore, so you won't switch those roles over and over. The third thing for any victim is to take responsibility. It's again exactly what I said before. It's when that happened to me, and I'm not saying that it's not my responsibility. It's all that asshole. He did what he did. Yes, he did what he did. Karma will get him.
Right.
But again,
It
I'm
will.
not
It will.
I'm not wasting my time, my energy, not doing anything I do not want to do. I'm just taking responsibility for the fact that I was a victim, and that took me to that chain of events, and um, and I'm taking responsibility for my life. That means everything,
Yeah.
everything in that
Yeah.
life is my responsibility. It's not about paying bills or I don't know, taking care of for kids or animals. No, it's true responsibility comes from within. True responsibility comes from your true desires. Just ask yourself that car that you want, a house that you want, does the desire come from the society or your mom or husband or whatever, or it comes from you? Sometimes all we need, last year I sat and thought, okay, right now I'm not very happy. What do I really want? And the answer was very random. I just want to draw a picture. I just want to paint. And
Mhm.
I just went, I
Yeah.
started painting. And that made me so happy,
Yeah.
like absolutely happy. And that was my true desire. I just remembered what I loved when I was a kid.
Yeah,
And
that's so key. That's what I always tell people because if we're not doing things that we love and enjoy, we get to this place of total burnout in our lives. And even if we're successful, even if we have the tools, I've been there many times where I'm like, there's got to be more than this. Like, what's next? And when I'm feeling like that, a lot of times it's because I've let my passions and joys slide, and I haven't been spending time doing things that are those outlets that make me feel happy, that bring joy back in. And I love that you did that, and asking yourself what you want is a harder question than it sounds like, right? You really have to be reflective because most people's answer is going to be a conglomerate of all the things you just said. What does my husband want? What do my kids want? What does everyone expect of me? And so to strip all that away and just say, no, what do I actually want? Can I get to know myself like that? Like all of this is such self-reflective work. I love it.
100%. And don't forget that if you're not charging yourself, you cannot charge others. And again, women were created to create. What can you create if you're energyless? If you're not charging yourself with what you love? It's
Yep.
impossible. I know that everyone have everyone has all those responsibilities, and maybe you think you don't have time, but believe me, giving yourself time for what you love is the biggest self-care. It's better than any massage or spa or whatever. Only that energy and those little things that make you happy is the giant source of energy, and it's the part of true responsibility. When you
Yep.
take true responsibility for your life, that's your aha moment,
Yeah.
because
And you can't go around saying things. And I know we are all busy and whatever, but we can't go around saying, oh, I'm so busy, I don't have time. Because that's, again, back in that mentality we were just talking about
yeah,
of everything is happening to me and I don't have any control. Here's the facts. We do have some control. You could find 30 minutes in your day if you really wanted to. And in those 30 minutes, you could do something that filled you up, whether that's meditation, whether that's reading, any whatever it is. So I think like we just kind of get so stuck in these routines of where we're like giving ourselves a pass or getting ourselves off the hook. And if you're not careful, I think that can slide into that slippery slope too of like, oh, well, my life is this, that, and the other thing. Well, okay, time to take responsibility.
yeah.
Like,
And
time to
it's
take
also about the
ownership.
truth. No, sorry. And it's also about the true desire,
Yeah.
because sometimes that meditation or that whatever is fancy right now is not your true desire. You just heard somewhere that it can help you, but is it your true desire? And about time, just you can time how long you're spending, how much time you spend on Instagram,
Yep.
and just take that time for yourself, because at that second when you are wasting that time on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, you are giving your time, your life. It's literally, I'm not even exaggerating, maybe
Yep.
I'm gonna sound dramatic, but uh at that second when you are like the second hour
Yep.
on Instagram scrolling, you are giving your life to other
Exactly. And all of
people.
your energy and
Yeah,
all of that stuff. And honestly, if you could just switch 20%, 30%, 40%, 50% away from just social scrolling, and this is just a random tip for everybody out there, and you got on Pinterest and you started thinking about things you wanted in your life, things that made
yeah,
you happy, things, amazing experiences you wanted to have, things you wanted to do, places you wanted to go, like that's actually actively creating a future that makes sense. Like that's a way to both fill your cup and manifest and create. But no, that's so true. So I know you're doing some work right now with women, probably specifically women. Yeah.
yeah.
To help them overcome victim mentality for good and to really kind of learn how to put these practices into their life. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yes, so once in a while we launch that course that helps women to go through that 4 steps. The fourth step, by the way, is being the author of your life. That's when we go through the life balance steps. And like 2 times per year. So far, we've been doing that course. And next year, we'll have one more launch. And I'm inviting everyone. You can follow my Instagram, and I'm publishing there the launches once in a
That's
while.
amazing. And I'll put some links to all that stuff in here for everybody. And thank you so much for the work that you do. Thank you for bringing women together and empowering women and giving them literally a stage to share their stories and their experience and their knowledge. And I just encourage everyone who's out there, you know, to follow that voice in your head that's saying, hey, I could do more. I could be more. Maybe I don't know how. Here's some resources. Here's how we can get started. And I love how much you've overcome to get where you're at. You know, you have so much TV experience. You've been producing in TV forever. It was an honor to get a chance to meet you and do all
Thank
the fun stuff that we did. And we have our podcast coming out that on
you.
yours as well. And it was amazing. So thank you so much, Arus, for
Yeah.
sharing your story and for everything you do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. And thank you for being the part of the Empower Her event. I appreciate that so much. You are a star. The way you were presenting your story, like people were speechless. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me today. And thank you for you being you. And thank you for
Aw.
everyone for watching.
I love it. All right, everybody, until next time, get out there and hustle and thrive.
Yeah, correct.